In our presentation, we intend to cover the following points, such as the concept, the synopsis, to the benefits it is to Steve Gullion. And calling the Heart of Ulster, this is our game made to be a strategy RPG based around the Ring of Gullion legends, such as Gollum, and then maybe cameos from Finn McCool and other things. In Colin Heart of Ulster, our game, you play as a character that was made as an add-on. It's not actually in the legend, and you will be the one that takes command of the company that Colin owns, basically an army. And what they do is you guide them for battles and fight wars with them until the very end, where you either save Colin or let him be killed.
Okay. So the target audience we decided for this project would be people within the UK and Ireland, as they are ones that are more inclined to actually know more about Cuchulainn and thus have more interest in the project. But of course, anyone outside of the UK or Ireland that does have a knowledge of or an interest in Celtic lore would also sort of fall within our target audience. And for the target age range of our project, we decided that going 12 and above would be a good idea, because we wanted to sort of have more complex gameplay that a younger audience wouldn't be able to fully easily understand. So we thought that would be the best idea. And the age rating, we decided to go for, of course, since our target audience is 12, we decided that 12 age rating would be best, but we also, because we were probably going to include content that isn't as suitable for much younger audiences, such as blood, gore, violence, that we thought just wouldn't work for a much younger audience. Yeah. So the genre of the game is a turn-based or sort of RPG strategy. Imagine like chess, but the pieces on the board are actually characters within the story. And so we are sort of inspired by games like Fire Emblem, which use a similar style of gameplay with characters on the board moving around fighting. But with Cuchulainn instead, we decided that could work well for the gameplay and the story we're trying to tell, and thought it might work well. We decided to go with that.
And for the release platform, we intend to release it on PC, since there's a lot of sites and apps that allows us to publish our games a lot easier than console. But on later iterations, we intend publishing it onto console, such as Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo Switch, since since this game's control is simple enough to be mapped onto a controller, and a PC, like, basically the same.
Okay. So since there's only 2 of us on the project, we did have to divvy up a number of roles. So I took as the lead programmer and lead level designer of the project, while also sort of helping out with some areas of the artistic and the design of the game and other assets.
And I'm the art director, which means I basically dictate the art style of this game, and what it does is I can choose which will pass and which wouldn't. But before that, I have to always communicate with my teammates to see do we agree on this or not. Other than that, I'm also the music producer or the audio engineer, which means I create the design assets such as the music background and other designs, such as one thing and weapon clashing. Other than that, I'm also the writer, which appears to my my creative style a lot better than the programming side. But if necessary, I also work as a programmer to help on the programming side.
So the storyboards is sort of an important part of our pre-production. It is used to help get a basic idea of what the project might look like, and see if the project is worth investing time in, and give us an overall good idea of what our project could end up like, and if, of course, do we want to actually develop it.
And the main importance for us to have a storyboard mainly is so that if there's any changes to be made, it will be made before the project is started. That way we'll be reduced the amount of cost it will need to change anything. And also it spends less time to change any core mechanics or anything if we check it out on the design stage first. And In our case, this is our storyboard we have in an animatic form. And our storyboard is designed using our concept arts and using Photoshop to make them together to look somewhat presentable. And then,
It's somebody.
So you'll just have to click on the video there.
there's a sign as well.
So this just sort of shows the menu navigation we are now within the game.
And this is the basic scene transactions, where the dialogue box is there and where you click to transport the dialogue to the next scene.
And then this sort of shows the gameplay or the combat we are looking to have with a enemy team acting on one turn and then the player team acting on another turn, having various options in combat, such as using skills or other abilities.
And then this is more scenes after the battle, which happens every time after the battle to show down the aftermath of the battle. And then it transports scenes which skips in time frame. In this case, since Colin's Legend have a lot of time skips, so we intend to put on basically a cutscene coming from the past, and then show that area's events.
Just sort of going through the story of the game a little bit, showing some of the areas and the
And
idea.
it's just an initial design, and after that we intend to improve it by a lot. Since this design, personally, I find it good enough for animatic, but not really good enough for present as a game.
Play it again.
In our concept art developments, we took the idea from the Steve Going Forest and looked around for any like nature kind of things, such as trees and rocks and rivers, and from that we discovered like some unique shapes that we can apply to our games in our enlarged form. And in terms of characters, and we use like description from legends and folklores, and applied our own imagination onto it. And on the screen you see Colin and Emmer. Emmer. These two characters will play a main role in the third act of this game. And however, sometimes whenever we make concept arts, some error might happen. In this case, we did not plan ahead on having multiple tree assets, so we only did one concept art, which turned out to be a problem for us later on in the asset development stage, of which when we developed the tree asset, this concept art only applied to the middle one, and the one on the left and on the right is a tree asset developed without this concept art, which is from our end.
Okay. So for the mechanics of the game, we mainly focused on sort of the main things we have to focus on are the gameplay, like the combat and movement and moving the player around, allowing them to target enemies in the areas they would like to move to. But of course, there's also smaller things such as the menus and the file management and the sound. Getting all of that working is the main programming that we have, and we're really happy with the mechanics we have and finding that the style of gameplay lends well to it.
And for our main inspiration, as I discussed before, it's mainly to Steve Billion's Park, since the nature there is beautiful. So we took that in mind when we designed all of our assets and having our story revolve around it. And also because of the legend of Colin, it's based around, well, the first act of it is based around Steve Billion, where he gained his name. So I find being there and taking pictures of everything there would be a good start point for us. And then there's also the Fire Emblem game, of which we discussed before, for the time-based RPG, where we got the idea of a strategy game coming from. But before that, we had the idea of making this into an RPG, just a normal game where people would just walk around as a single character and fight other people. But we find this way is better for telling a story. Any questions?
Oh, no, you skipped one.
Did I?
Yeah,
Oh,
you did.
yeah,
There you go.
Sorry.
We thought the main benefits for Slave Galleon from this project would just sort of generate more interest in the Celtic history and mythology, as well as just Irish history and mythology, and might encourage people to sort of explore Ireland a bit more, maybe see more interesting areas and look into areas that relate to the game and sort of just
So it also allows people to learn more about mythology through the game, since it's easier to play something and learn about it than to read a book about it, in my case anyway. And most important of all, it opens the possibility of having new business partners for Sleep Golden. When they look at this game, they'll think that this area is perfect since they will have a base of where to develop a game and around what. And if this game works as well as we thought it would most likely be able to open a chance to be published onto our local scene where people can come by, play it, and learn about history on a different way.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions?
Yeah, well done, boys. Just with regards to storyboards, playboards,
Yeah.
okay, when you're considering the design for a game, is it important, or do you feel that it's important to think about camera angles when it's relating to whether it's a side scroller or it's a top down, etc., where your camera is placed and what control the player has over that within the game?
Oh yes, that's very important. Especially, like you say, camera angles. We could use storyboards to sort of test what camera angles might look like without having to develop anything in a engine or anything. Just give us a better idea of what looks best and what we would like to use. So storyboards of that and concept art of that helps a lot.
Yeah, and to expand upon that a little bit more, the camera angle is also important so that nothing, like such as in Unity, there's an area where the camera just look at anything that's at the bottom of the screen, where there's nothing there. It's better to be angle the camera to focus into the main stage and have a terrain there where the player can look at and admire the view instead of having a void in there.
Good.
Which is important for us to have the camera angle facing into the play area instead of having it anywhere else.
Well done.